Hello, everybody, and welcome to From the Mezzanine. I'm your host, Lindsey Stone. From the Mezzanine is the Broadway podcast for the Broadway fans, where we talk about all things Broadway news, Broadway grosses, and let's be honest, all of the tea and gossip that happens week to week in the Broadway stratosphere. How's everybody doing? I am doing fantastic because I am doing the most coolest, funniest, awesomest thing this afternoon, and I'm so flipping excited. And honestly, I don't know what to expect, so I'm not getting my expectations super duper high, but I am certainly seeing Lin-Manuel Miranda today, which, if you would have told me when I moved to New York City that I would just be casually seeing Lin-Manuel Miranda, getting these tickets that were free 99, mind you, to go and see the man, the myth, the legend, the man that has changed my life in so many ways, the man that I look up to, possibly more than anybody on this earth, who I think is the most brilliant person on planet Earth. If you would have told me I would just be seeing him, whatever, so casual, I would have been beside myself. But I am going to see him today, guys. I got tickets. So the United Palace is the theater that is owned by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and it's in Washington Heights. I've been once before for the Tonys last year, and I didn't attend the Tonys, but it's fun to say, I went for the Tonys, but I stood outside and watched people as they walked in. That is his theater that he owns. And if you're a humongous Lin stan like me and you're planning a trip to New York, look at what's going on at the United Palace, because this is not the first time that he's done this. He does these talk back sessions after movies. And so we're going to see the movie Blue Beetle. And then afterwards, he has a talk back session with somebody from Blue Beetle. And he's just gonna, I guess, be Q&A'ing him, interviewing him. And that's just freaking insane. And the tickets were completely free. And so it's the United Palace Theater in Washington Heights. It's a little bit of a hike from Midtown Manhattan, but it's really not that bad. And it's a beautiful theater. And I'm just excited to walk in it because I've never actually been inside the theater. And I just remember the iconic Tony performance whenever they were dancing all through the lobby and everything of the United Palace for the opening number of the Tonys. And so I'm just excited to be there. And then even more so, I'm excited to see, I just got butterflies, Lin-Manuel Miranda. I adore him so much. I was thinking about if I should bring anything for him to sign. And I don't think I have any. I already have his signature. I could bring a Hamilton playbill for him to sign. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll bring a Hamilton playbill. Other than that, I don't know that I have anything else that I could bring for him to sign. But I will say, this will be my technically fourth time seeing, okay, let me count. The first time I saw him, which I'll tell you all the story because it's an older story and some of my new listeners may not know it, but the first time I saw him, we got tickets to go and see New York on Broadway. Rest in peace. It's no longer out. It was an atrocious show. However, Lin-Manuel Miranda was a big figure behind the show, working on the lyrics and such. And so we went to a preview performance and we sat at the very front row of the mezzanine, and we were watching this person down at the bottom who looked very important. And so many people were coming up and shaking his hand. Still to this day, I have no idea who it was. However, we were watching him, trying to figure it out. And then up walks this guy who's got a mask on and he's in all black and he's got a backpack on, and I freeze. And I'm staring at him and I'm like, no, I still can feel it to this day. I was just completely frozen. And I was like, it's him. It's him. Mind you, guys, literally when we walked into the theater, I almost started crying because I was Lin was just here for the opening preview. And I just I felt Lin in the Chili's tonight, and it was true. We stared at him and I just couldn't believe it. And then I just started bawling my eyes out. Because it's seeing your idol, and it's somebody who seems so far off, and it'll never happen. And he just he's brought so much to my life, and I just adore him, and I think he's amazing. Anyway, so I just sat there and I bawled, and I was like, it's Lin, and then I pulled myself together and then watched the show. That was, a little underwhelming. Let's just say that. New York was womp womp, but I got to see Lin, and that was the first time I ever saw him. And then we went to the Tonys, and we saw him from afar at the Tonys, so that was the second time. Third time I saw him was at Gutenberg when he was the producer. We got tickets to that performance exclusively because they teased that it was Lynn. Fourth time was at Wicked 20th anniversary. Wow, I've actually seen him 4 times. The Wicked 20th anniversary. And we ran into him in the lobby and I completely froze and he walked directly past me and he was like in such Lynn fashion and he was like running around. He was just like dodging around corners. Like he just like is a very like energetic fella. And I just like, he's so cute and he's just like a adorable genius and I just adore him. Anyways, Bryn, who was with me, Broadway bestie Bryn, who hopefully y'all enjoyed the podcast episode last week with her. It was so fun. Anyways, she was like, "Hi Lynn, can we get a photo with you?" And he politely declined. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't." That's what he said. Like it was like it was, and we're just, "Oh, okay." Like I didn't say anything because I can't talk to my idols all of a sudden. Like I can't do that. I think it stems from possibly my interaction with Colton Ryan at the stage door when he like called me a bootlegger. Like I'm just like, I'd rather just not say anything. Not that he was like an idol to me, but it's just like that really stuck with me when he was like, "You look like a bootlegger." That just stuck with me. And so now I just am like, I don't want to say anything to them because I don't want to think about them and always think about my interaction with them. However, it's not always bad. I've talked to Leslie Odom Jr. twice now and it's been amazing, but I've had to be forced to talk to him because it's just hard. Hopefully some of y'all can understand that. So this today will be my 6th time seeing Lynn. That is crazy, y'all. But this will be like my first time probably watching him for an extended period of time. If he is in the theater and is watching the movie, I will not be able to focus. Wow. That would be so incredible. But I'm super excited about that. So I will recap that for y'all next week. Tomorrow we have Amplify 2024, which I'm really excited about. So by the time this comes out, it will have already passed. But there we're seeing Santino Fontana. We're seeing Bonnie Milligan and all kinds of amazing people. We get to see our man Liam Pierce again. I'm really excited about that. And so I will recap both of those things for y'all next week. Looking forward to it. And then today we have to recap 2 new shows that I saw. Let me get a sip of coffee real quick. Today we are talking about 2 new shows that I saw. Teeth, which like I can't even begin to express to you guys this obscene, awesome, graphic, psychotic show that I saw, Teeth. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And then on the flip side of that, we're also going to talk about Kimberly Akimbo, which couldn't possibly be more of a different show. So let's get into it. Firstly, I want to talk to y'all about Teeth. So this show, we got $10 tickets. They were really, really inexpensive. And I love that. It's playing at the Playwrights Horizon. It just is extended. It's playing at the Playwrights Horizons Theater, which is an off-Broadway theater. And it was a really nice off-Broadway theater. I really liked it. Really intimate, very small. And it was a great location. It's in Hell's Kitchen. And so it's not too far from Midtown. It's easy to get to. Some of these off-Broadway theaters are a bit of a hike. But anyways, I really like the Playwrights Horizons, and let's talk about Teeth. So this is 17 plus as advertised on their website. It's only appropriate for people 17 plus. I know I have some younger listeners, and so I am not going to get into the plot of this show because it is highly graphic and highly inappropriate. And this is a family show. Like, we keep things a little bit appropriate here for the most part. And so I just don't feel good about publicizing the ins and outs of this plot. Let's just say that. However, if you are 17 plus and are interested in reading up on this tale, maybe do. I don't know. It's pretty scarring and jarring. And going into it, I was like, I feel like I am setting myself up for a lifetime of regret possibly seeing this show, because the concept of it is certainly something that's going to stick with you. And so I was a little worried about that. Little did I know it was going to be so satirical, so funny. It is quite morbid. It is like, I feel like I've just used so many very apt describing words for this show because it's freaking insane. And the moment the ride begins, you can't get off because 1, there's no intermission, and if you leave the theater, you aren't allowed back in. But 2, like, it is a never ending like train ride through a story that it never dips. It never dips. The story never dips. It was wild and fun and scary until the end. But without a doubt, they've got a great cast. It reminded me so much of Heathers the musical, except just darker and more graphic and morbid. But a lot of the music was so Heathers, very satirical, until you get to the end where you're just, for lack of a better word, scared shitless, which I certainly was. Absolutely scared. I want to see it again so bad. I think there is a world in which this could come to Broadway. I really do, because it does feel like this could have a major cult following. I'm not kidding, guys. The music of this, for the content of what this is about, which once again, we're not discussing, but what it is about, I think that it could have like, it's very also empowering in a way, like sort of like women empowering and down with the patriarchy. So I could see it having a major cult following, and I'm a cult follower already. There is a song on Spotify right now that is called Modest is Hottest, Modest is Hottest, and I've just been jamming to it. It's been stuck in my head. It is so catchy. This music is amazing, and if you're a fan of Heathers, you will like Teeth. If you're looking for something a little more crazy and absolutely freaking insane, go and see Teeth. They have extended their performances twice now, and it is playing until like the end of April. I hope I can get more tickets. I want to rush it. They do rush. They do student discount. They do young memberships, and to qualify for like the young membership, it's free. You just have to be, I think, under 30 years old. So the tickets are very hard to get. It was sold out until they extended. Now there's some tickets online, but if you're into that vibe, I couldn't recommend it more, because it is a show I will never forget. One of the people who wrote it is the same person who wrote A Strange Loop, which of course was the Tony winner. And so he's very, very talented, and I think his work shows that in Teeth. I just freaking adored it, even though it was psychotic to the umpth degree. Let's talk about Kimberly Akimbo, though, because I finally saw it. Broadway bestie Bryn couldn't have been happier to take me to my first experience seeing Kimberly. This, of course, was also the Tony winner most recently, and Victoria Clark was Best Actress. Bonnie Milligan won for Supporting Actress, and it's just been a show that I have neglected to see. I don't know why I never saw it. I just wasn't intrigued by the story. I thought it was really bizarre from a very surface level standpoint. I thought, a young girl is aging rapidly and it's a fun musical. Like, what is not connecting here for me? I just didn't understand that. And then I saw it, and it was a very, very endearing story. So if you're unfamiliar about the plot of Kimberly Akimbo, this girl has this very rare, and it's not a real disease, and she's aging incredibly rapidly. At the age of 20, she will be 90 years old, but she's just had her 16th birthday, and 16 is the average life expectancy of somebody with her disease. And so she looks a lot older than she actually is, and she's attending school. And so it's kind of like the societal pressures of high school in a way, but not like in a Mean Girls way at all, because like all of the students are in show choir, so it's really like lighthearted, a fun group. There's not like any bullying or anything happening like that, but also it's like she does have this disease, and so her schoolmates are somewhat curious about her, but then she also has a really tumultuous home life. Her parents are her parents are pretty crazy. Her mother had carpal tunnel surgery in both of her hands, and she is very pregnant, and her father is an alcoholic. And then her aunt comes in, and her aunt is just, who's played by Bonnie Milligan, is just a whole nother story. She's off her rocker in more ways than one. Anyways, it's really funny. I was really surprised by the fact that it's not very kid friendly. I will say, I think they dropped the F-bomb maybe twice, if not more than that. And so that was surprising to me, because I thought it was going to be like a bubblegum, kiddish show. And that's never really appealed to me. Like Moulin Rouge was, I'm starting to say was my favorite show. I guess that tells you maybe I'm backing up from Moulin Rouge. Well, I'll always remember it for its glory days with the OBC. But anyways, I do kind of like those shows that are a little bit more, I guess, adult in a way. And so this, I just thought that it was more for children, a children's show. Because of the way that it's marketed, I would say, because they're always showing them at school and their school yearbook photos are used in a lot of the advertising. And so I just thought that it was kind of teeny boppery, and I didn't think that it would have any real heart, or I didn't think that I would identify with it at all. But that was absolutely not the case. I thought Kimberly was maybe the most endearing show that I have seen on Broadway, if not the most endearing show that I've seen in a long time. It has so much heart. It was funny. It made me laugh. The music wasn't something that'll stick with me. I don't remember any of the songs right now, even as we're sitting here today, but it all worked out. And it was a very streamlined plot. It was very easy to absorb and know where we were and not be able to anticipate what was coming. There were a lot of highs and lows in terms of she is a girl with a disease. So there are moments that are really freaking sad. And then there are other moments where it's like she's on cloud 9. I would probably, I really enjoyed it. After the fact, I just was I was really kind of emotional because it was just such a sweet, not lighthearted really, but just a sweet, kind story. And I just was really, really impressed. The outstanding performance for me, without a doubt, was Justin Cooley. Shout him from the rooftops. Justin Cooley is so fantastic and a gorgeous actor, and he pulls on your heart, and he's so real, and he's so young, and to be able to have that depth and that ability, he's so funny. His character was this kind of dorky kid without a lot of friends who really had a big heart for Victoria Clark's character, Kimberly, and he was so smart, and just the way he delivered his lines was so intuitive. And I'm gonna say a really hot take right now. I think Justin Cooley should have won that freaking Tony. I saw Alex Newell's performance in Shucked, and their performance was freaking awesome. And I will never say a disparaging thing towards Alex Newell. They are a force to be reckoned with. They were incredible in Shucked. But I'm wearing my Shucked sweatshirt right now. I'm obviously a staunch supporter of Shucked the musical till the day I die, all right? However, Justin Cooley and Kimberly Akimbo was a very unique character, and the way he held the audience in his hand, and you could just see with every fiber of his being how much he cared for Kimberly, and you could see the wheels turning in his head. His acting was so incredible and profound, and his performance made me so emotional. I really did. I almost started crying at moments while I was watching Kimberly, just because of how amazing he was. And that's what's important in musicals and shows. You need to be able to feel the chemistry between characters, whether it's romantic chemistry or friendly chemistry. It should be palpable. And Justin Cooley and Victoria Clark, their friendship and admiration for each other was so palpable, and it made you hold on, and it made you feel for them. And that wasn't an easy thing to do. And that's why I think Justin Cooley should have won that freaking Tony. He was amazing, and he was so kind at the stage door. We got everybody's signatures. Everybody was really kind. It was one of the fastest stage doors I've ever been to. Right when the show ended, they just started filing out. These days, guys, oh my God, they are making you wait for stage doors. It's fine, whatever. You're never ever supposed to expect your favorite actor to come out of the stage door. It is a cherry on top. Sometimes they might be monetarily obligated. I don't know everything about that. However, you're not owed a stage door. But I will say, waiting over an hour at a stage door is my own personal decision. If I've chosen to do that, whatever, but it's a lot. It's a lot. And I have done it on more than one occasion, and it's okay. I don't regret it. However, you guys are making us wait at these stage doors lately. Anyways, I just was really impressed with Kimberly. It was a well-rounded show. Something I kind of want to compare it to, which might sound a little weird to some, is Waitress. And that's just because the story is relatable. It shows your American family that has issues of their own, that is just moving forward, and it's a very palatable story, just because it's easy to follow. Like, I think Kimberly is a show that you could take anybody to and they would be impressed by, they would enjoy it, and they would leave feeling like that was a great story. Like, I can't think of anybody who would see Kimberly and just dislike it entirely, even though I'm sure, there are some people out there, but it's just an easygoing show, and I just thought it was fantastic. I really, really did. We'll see how it stacks up with, like, at the end of the year with my 2024 rankings. But I think it potentially could be up there. Do I feel like I need to run to the theater and go and see it 5 more times before they close in April? I don't. I'm satisfied with my one visit to the theater, and I'm happy with that, and I just had a great time at Kimberly. It was a fantastic show, and dare I say I can see why it won the Tony? I think I can. I think I can say I can see why it won the Tony. Thanks, Kimberly. Without further ado, my friends, why don't we head on into this week's Broadway Grosses? This is for the week ending on March 17th. I feel like every week I'm like, oh my gosh, March 17th is already passed. It's going by so fast. Okay, number 1, folks, is, say it with me now, The Lion King. Last week they were not number 1, and it was nice, I'm not gonna lie, but no, they are back at number 1, meaning Wicked is now bumped down to number 2. Hamilton is number 3. Merrily We Roll Along is number 4. MJ the Musical is 5. Moulin Rouge, Moulin Rouge, the musical, is sitting so pretty at number 6, still doing fan-freaking-tastic. Sweeney Todd is 7, so I do think that Aaron Tveit and Sutton Foster are settling in. The crazy people like me have already gone and seen it, who wanted to see it right away, and now maybe it's gonna just sit just a little further down in the grosses than it was back with Josh and Anna Lee, which is fine. 7 is certainly a great place to be. They had 98% capacity, so that theater was practically full. It's a good place to be. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is 8. Aladdin is 9. And Back to the Future is 10. Right below that, we have Hadestown at 11 and Anne Juliet at 12. Very interesting. This is the first time we've seen an Enemy of the People not in the top 10 since they've opened. So that's surprising. That's a bit of a shakeup. They've been doing so freaking well. This is cool to note. Water for Elephants is not very far below that. They are doing better than The Notebook, than The Who's Tommy, than Spamalot. And yeah, next week we will get to see, hopefully, The Outsiders be added to this. Speaking of The Outsiders, guys, after Kimberly, we went over to their stage door, and let me just say, there's a video on my TikTok if you want to see, but these men are so gorgeous. They're beautiful Broadway men, and I have a feeling when I go, I will have 6 new Broadway boyfriends, and I'm so ready for it. Yeah. But the way people were acting at the stage door, including myself, was insane. People were, and mind you, I didn't even see the show, but I was like, me and Bren were like, what's going on over there? Wow, look at him. He's so handsome. Da, da, da. But there was just crowds galore. And this was the night of their very first preview, their opening preview. And so it was mayhem. I wonder if it still is that way, but it was one of the craziest stage doors that I have seen. Just mobs of people circling these guys. Like, they would try to leave, and then whoosh, everybody would go to them because everybody's trying to get their playbill signed. It was crazy town, guys. Like, it was insane. And I was like asking around, like, how's the show to people, and just like one guy was like, oh, it was really good. Like gave me like nothing, but he said it was really good. Anyways, I definitely want to go and see it. I posted a video on my TikTok that's low-key popping off right now, and like of the guys, and everybody is in the comments talking about how amazing the show was and how like the rumble scene was so incredible and it rains and they all have their shirts off. I don't know. People are being pretty thirsty, but I get it because I was like, look at these gorgeous Broadway men in the TikTok, and everybody in the comments are just like thirsting over them. But also the Outsider Boys commented on the TikTok. And maybe this makes sense if you've seen The Outsiders, but they said like these SOKS, these socks. Is that a part of The Outsiders? I don't really know. I think it might be. That's what the Outsider Boys who were in the cast commented, and I was like, what are they trying to call me? I don't know. I don't know the inside jokes because I haven't seen the show yet. Anyways, I will be seeing the show promptly. Oh my gosh, I have to tell y'all one other thing. Oh my gosh, there's so much. Why is there always so much to catch up on? It's crazy. So my sister and her best friend are coming this next weekend. And so we are going to have a very Broadway filled weekend. And I'm not sure what all we're going to see, but there will be much to discuss next week because of that too. Okay, folks, let's head on into our Broadway news of the week. Kicking it off, guys. The king of my Broadway heart, Andrew Rannells, is headed on back to Broadway, baby. And guess who he's playing? He is playing opposite of Tammy Faye as Jim Baker. And if you don't know about this story, let me tell you a little something. So Tammy Faye was originally on the West End. I believe it was Andrew Rannells' West End debut. And he was like playing alongside Katie Braben, who will be making her Broadway debut in Tammy Faye the Musical. This musical is written by Elton John, and they have released a trailer online. And I'm going to say trailer with some air quotes because it doesn't really tell you anything much about the show. It's opening at the Palace Theater, which has just been newly renovated. So that's like kind of a hot topic, kind of exciting. But the trailer is just like Elton John being like, this musical is coming to the palace, the newly renovated. We're so excited to be in this theater. And it doesn't really like show or tell you much about the story at all. So that's what I'm here to do, to tell you about the story. So this show, to read their synopsis, is based on the life of American evangelist Tammy Faye Messner. Tammy Faye tells the story of Messner's rise to national recognition atop a Christian television empire. She and her then husband and fellow televangelist, I love the term televangelist, I've never heard of that before, Jim Baker, who is going to be played by Andrew Rannells, founded the PTL Club, stands for Praise the Lord, in 1974, a platform they used to preach to millions. Messner, who died in 2007, was noted for her compassion for the LGBTQIA+ community during the AIDS epidemic, despite conflict between the community and the church. So there is a movie that I've watched that was really good it's just called Tammy Faye, I think. And that tells you a lot about their story. They kind of had this empire that fell apart in a couple of ways. And it's an interesting story. They're a fascinating couple. I think this role for Andrew Rannells isn't far off base, as like, it's pretty similar to things we've seen him in before. Kind of similar. Look, no, it's totally similar to Book of Mormon. Are you kidding? Like, he has the material to work on here. Like, he's done it before in Book of Mormon, where he plays a very flamboyant evangelist. We've seen it all before with Andrew Rannells. He's got it in his belt. We know what he's working with, and we've seen him do it, and he's been amazing. And so this is all very like revisited territory for him to play this character. And I'm for one just excited he's coming back to Broadway, because Broadway is just a dark, sad place without Andrew Rannells. Am I right? So this show is going to begin previews on October 19th with an official opening set for November 14th. Okay. Ooh, I do want to say, though, I read some of the critic reviews whenever it was on the West End. And by the way, this was like Olivier nominated, and it was a relatively pretty big hit over at the West End. It had like a limited engagement over there. So it didn't run for forever, and it's not still running today. And I don't know the ins and outs of West End. I'm not going to act like I do, because I am just a Broadway girly. But I don't know if they always set shows with a limited engagement, but I kind of think that usually they do from what I've seen. Anyways, to look at some of the critical reviews for their performance over there, because I was curious, I'm like, okay, it's been reviewed before, so let's try to figure some things out about it, right? How are they liking it? How is it doing? So we can guesstimate how it'll do over here. So to quote Matt Wolf with the New York Times, he said, quote, John's most recent musical, The Devil Wears Prada, ran aground in Chicago over the summer. So it's a relief to report that Tammy Faye is, for the most part, spectacularly entertaining, even if it could do with some trims and toning down a few tasteless sections. He goes on to say, quote, through it all, Braben displays such fervor and commitment in the title role that you fall under the sway not just of Tammy Faye, but of a performer giving her career-enhancing all to a part that Braben was born, Tammy Faye would surely say, destined to play, quote. So that's a very glowing review for Tammy Faye. I think this is a very interesting musical. I, for one, am intrigued by this story. It's a true story. This is a real person that these things did happen. And it's kind of like, I can't say it's like true crimey, but I like things that are real stories with some scandal. And let's just say there is some scandal involved in this story for sure. And it's going to be fascinating to see it play out in a musical format. And so I'm excited about this. Obviously, I will be going to see it to support my man Andrew. And yeah, so Tammy Faye is coming. We are excited to meet Katie Braben, who has, got these incredibly glowing reviews. In the trailer with Elton John, he's really talking about her performance. I do think she is the star of the show. I think it's probably way more focused on her rather than Jim Baker, Andrew Rannells, which, I'm kind of sad about. Y'all know I would just like to, I'm used to seeing him on stage for the entire duration of the show, i.e. in Gutenberg when he never left the stage. However, I think I'll be okay with it. And I think I can find a way to get over it. But anyways, I'm really excited about this. We've known this was coming. Andrew Rannells has not been tight-lipped about this. He went on, I think, Watch What Happens Live and said like, I think it's coming. And obviously, if he knows these things and is talking about it so openly, it alludes to the fact that he's probably going to be joining the cast too. And plus it did so well in the West End. Like, why wouldn't he join the cast over here on Broadway? So I've just been waiting for this announcement, but I've known all along that it was probably coming. Moving on to our next news story, Merrily We Roll Along has officially recouped and is not a flop on Broadway. Round of applause. Yay! Go Merrily. Woohoo. This is awesome. This is what every show sets out to do. I am shocked. That it has taken this long for them to recoup. And it hasn't been long, don't get me wrong, but they have been making oodles and boodles of money over there. And the fact that they just now recouped, I'm like, where's this money going? Of course they have some heavy hitters in that cast who are probably pretty expensive. And the set is really beautiful. They change it throughout the decades. The show is over a long span of time, and they are really creative in the ways that they change things in the set for, from the 70s to the 80s and so on. And then all of the costumes change too with the time changes, right? And it's got a pretty big cast, and the costumes were gorgeous. And so I can see why this was a more expensive musical. To be exact, this was a $12 million musical, which is kind of average. Like, it might be on just a little bit of the more expensive end for average these days on Broadway. Back in the day, $12 million for a Broadway show was crazy, right? But these days I think $11 million is like the average. And so I love knowing how much it costs to mount a show on Broadway. It's fascinating. If I could just see a list of all the Broadway shows right now, The Notebook, Water for Elephants, everything, I would love to know how much it's costing. It's fascinating to me. Anyways, they have recouped their $12 million, which, diggity dang, $12 million is a lot of money. And to finally recoup that, way to go, Merrily We Roll Along. You will not be going down in the books as a flop, which your predecessor was. Old Merrily that opened on Broadway, it was open for just, I think, a matter of weeks, and it went down as a huge freaking flop. It symbolized the end of Sondheim and Hal Prince's relationship. It was the last time that this dynamic duo ever worked together. The show does feel reminiscent of their relationship with Daniel Radcliffe and Jonathan Groff's characters. And so it's sad that it ended their relationship in a way. I don't think it ended their friendship. I don't know the inner workings of that, but I do know it was the last time they ever worked together, probably because it was such a massive, humongous flop. And it's great that it's come back swinging. I wish Sondheim were here to see its major, incredible successes, because it is such a freaking success. It's an incredible show. It's such a fun show. And it's a beautiful show from start to finish. And so this is a show that I definitely feel like deserves to get on out of flop territory. So I'm excited to see what shows are going to be next. I love getting this news because, one, whenever you figure out that a show has recouped, they typically release how much the budget was for the show, which is super duper fascinating. All right, folks, our last story of the day is that Water for Elephants has opened on Broadway, and with every opening, you'll know what comes next. The reviews. Dun, dun, dun. You never know. Will they be good? Will they be bad? Well, for Water for Elephants, drumroll please, they were pretty good, which was shocking. As y'all heard last week, if you listened to me and Bryn's lengthy recap where we really got into it, and the more we talked about the show, the more it became apparent we just didn't like it. And that's okay. I am very glad to see that it got pretty good reviews. So using Broadway World for the reviews, which is my favorite site to use to kind of collect all the reviews, they do a Broadway review roundup where they mark everything with a thumbs up, a thumbs like in the middle, and then a thumbs down. Well, Water for Elephants got 6 thumbs downs, 5 thumbs in the middle, and 10 thumbs up. That's not like freaking incredible. I went back and I looked through a lot of other review roundups to see like where they ranked in terms of like thumbs up versus thumbs down. And this is definitely like mediocre. They give it a 61.9% average review. So it's at least like on the higher end of the 50%. So this is good. This is good. And the best thing about it is that the one reviewer that you really want on your team, because they're a heavy hitter and they make a humongous difference, is Jesse Green with the New York Times. And guess freaking what? He freaking loved it. He loved it, guys. This is what he said, quote, "Sure, it features an eventful story and compelling characters, and apt, rousing music by Pigpen Theater Co., a 7-man indie folk collective. But in the director Jessica Stone's stunning emotional production, it leads with movement, eye candy, and awe," quote. That's glowing, guys, especially from Jesse Green, who's always a little bit snide in his reviews, especially if he doesn't like something. In this, he sounded really content and satisfied. Just felt like he really enjoyed the show from start to finish. Another reviewer, I always like to look at Vulture's reviews too, because they have a really good theater column. And this review is from Sarah Holdren. She says, she kind of gave it a medium review. It wasn't glowing, it wasn't negative. She said, quote, "As is so frequently the case, the show's stagecraft outstrips the script by a mile. Under Jessica Stone's exuberant direction, a huge ensemble of ridiculously talented acrobats ebbs and flows and flips and flies through the house, coalescing into gorgeous paintings in front of projection designer David Bengali's lush, shifting cloudscape of a backdrop," quote. Okay, so that was pretty good, little positive. Sounds like they were really entranced with the set and, of course, the acrobatics. That was what was... I looked through a lot of these reviews. Everybody was just in awe of the circus performers, which is exactly what we felt when we watched it. Jaw to the floor. Where we were not impressed was the plot. The plot was just not of depth. It wasn't to us. So then I want to give y'all a review that was just like blatantly negative. I'm trying to give y'all an array of what the reviews were, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this is from Rex Reed with The Observer, who said, quote, This is really bad, guys. This is really bad. Okay. So he said, quote, after suffering through the new Broadway musical, The Notebook, I thought I had seen the worst of what the 2024 season would bring. I was wrong. I had not seen Water for Elephants yet. Now I have. It can't get any deadlier than this, quote, which that is more of the reviews that we were anticipating. We really thought that too after we saw The Notebook, and then we saw Water for Elephants. We were like, well, sorry to Water for Elephants, because The Notebook got awful reviews and this was even worse. So I hate to see what reviews are going to come out. And then they started coming out and we were like, poof. This is out of left field. We had no idea it was going to be so good, but I'm happy for the cast. I'm happy for the show. Maybe they just gave the performance of their lifetimes that night. It does sound like there was something electric in the audience. There always is on an opening night, but sometimes that electrifying energy isn't enough to get the critics to like your show, but it sounds like it was that night. It sounds like they really just enjoyed it, and I'm surprised, but we might have a big Tony hit on our hands, and that's a huge success. So way to go, Water for Elephants, on getting pretty good reviews. Sorry that I didn't necessarily agree or endorse it last week, but I probably won't be seeing it again, but maybe if I did, I would see it a little bit differently. Maybe when we went, it wasn't together. It was, of course, a preview. Maybe they made a couple changes. I doubt that because it was only like a week before their preview night. But who knows? These critics appear to have watched a different show than I did. But I can't help but be happy for the cast and crew because nothing feels better than having a success on your hands. So way to go, Water for Elephants. Woohoo! All right, guys, that wraps up this week's episode of From the Mezzanine. Y'all, we are still working towards 100 subscribers on YouTube, so if you haven't already, please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel at From the Mezzanine Broadway. Once we hit 100 subscribers, I have a huge announcement for you guys that I am so excited. Oh man, I'm so excited to reveal it to you guys, and I hope that y'all are going to be so excited, just as excited as I am. I think it's going to make a lot of y'all happy just because it means more content from me and more regular content from me. And we're really close to 100. So I am thinking by next week, we will hit the 100 and y'all will know my big announcement. And like I mentioned last week, the second I make the announcement, it will go into effect. And y'all will start reaping the benefits for all of the exciting things right away. So go and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. It is just right there in the show notes. It is so easy to just click that little link and click the subscribe. BT Dubs, if you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube account. So you can subscribe even if you haven't set up an official YouTube account. Also, while you're at it, you can go follow me on Instagram and TikTok, guys, at From the Mezzanine, also in the show notes. And leave me a rate and review wherever you're listening right now. Share this episode with your Broadway bestie. I am sure they're going to enjoy it just as much as you did. Thank you once again so much for listening. Y'all are the best, my Broadway besties. Love y'all so dearly. And I will see you again next Tuesday. Bye.